Welcome to Farming Aid. Hidden deep within the misty hills of Northumberland roams a breed of cattle so rare, so untouched by time, that many call them living ghosts of Britain's ancient past. With their snow-white coats, haunting blue eyes, and wild, untamed nature, the Chillingham cattle are not just animals, they are a mystery wrapped in legend. For over 700 years, this isolated herd has survived without human interference, evolving in complete genetic purity behind the ancient walls of Chillingham Park. But how have they defied science, resisted extinction, and remained almost entirely unchanged since the medieval era? And what secrets lie within their DNA that have baffled scientists and enchanted storytellers alike? In this video, we uncover the chilling truth behind Britain's most mysterious cattle breed, the Chillingham Secret. Get ready for a journey into history, science, and the untamed spirit of one of the world's rarest animals. The story of the Chillingham cattle begins in the medieval era, possibly even earlier, when Britain was a tapestry of wild woodlands and roaming beasts. It is believed that the ancestors of these cattle were once wild aurochs or feral domestic cattle that were enclosed by medieval nobility during the 13th century for hunting or conservation purposes. Unlike other breeds that evolved through crossbreeding and artificial selection, the Chillingham herd was left untouched, allowed to follow their natural instincts in a controlled yet wild environment. They became self-sufficient, adapting not to human expectations but to nature's unforgiving rhythm. The very fact that they still exist today, unaltered by man's genetic tinkering, is something of a biological miracle. Living entirely without human intervention for centuries, these cattle developed extraordinary behaviors that resemble those of wild herd animals more than domestic cows. They form tight social structures, adhere to a rigid mating hierarchy, and have a deeply ingrained survival instinct that is seldom observed in farm animals. Watching them is like peering through a portal into the distant past. Mating occurs naturally and only under specific conditions. The dominant bull claims a harem of females and will fiercely fend off competitors, ensuring only the strongest genes are passed on. Calves are born without any assistance, and the weak do not survive. A brutal but effective mechanism of natural selection that has kept the herd resilient for generations. One of the most astonishing aspects of the Chillingham cattle is their genetic uniformity. Researchers have discovered that the herd is almost genetically identical, so much so that it defies the laws of biology. In most animal populations, such limited genetic diversity would spell doom due to inbreeding depression, which leads to defects, disease susceptibility, and infertility. But the Chillingham herd defies expectations. They remain healthy, robust, and fertile. This paradox has baffled scientists for decades. It suggests that over centuries, natural selection purged any harmful mutations from their genome, leaving behind a core of healthy genetic material that functions with eerie efficiency. Geneticists regard them as a living laboratory, offering rare insights into how isolated populations can adapt and survive without outside genetic input. And yet, despite their biological fascination, the Chillingham cattle are not simply a subject for academic papers. They are woven into the cultural and historical fabric of Britain. They were once symbols of aristocratic pride, kept by noble families like the Greys and the Earls of Tankerville as a sign of power and connection to the land. For centuries, access to the herd was strictly controlled. Visitors were rare, and the cattle were shrouded in secrecy, giving rise to tales and legends. Locals whispered that they were ghost cattle, guardians of ancient lands, or remnants of a mystical beast from Celtic mythology. Some believed they possessed supernatural qualities, that harming one would bring bad luck, or that their low, guttural calls echoed omens of change or doom. These tales may seem fanciful, but they speak to the aura that surrounds the herd, an aura that persists even in modern times. Unlike other cattle, the Chillingham beasts have retained traits that would be considered wild in today's livestock standards. They are skittish and aggressive, difficult to approach, and even harder to handle. They do not recognize humans as caretakers because, quite simply, they have never needed us. This feral behavior has been preserved generation after generation, giving them an edge in surviving the harsh winters and sparse grazing lands of Northumberland. Their coats grow thick and weather-resistant. They forage over rough terrain, and know instinctively how to locate shelter. In many ways, they are more akin to wild deer than farm cattle, and perhaps that is what makes them so compelling. They are not tamed, not bred for our consumption, but for survival on their own terms. The population today remains small, usually hovering around 100 animals, carefully monitored yet still wild. There are no artificial inseminations, no veterinary treatments unless absolutely necessary, and certainly no human-led breeding programs. Deaths and births are part of the natural cycle, and the park stewards allow nature to dictate the balance. This approach has raised eyebrows in the world of agriculture and animal welfare, but it is precisely this methodology that has preserved the breed's authenticity. It's a living example of pre-domestication, a species that thrives not because of us, but in spite of us. Chillingham Park itself plays a significant role in this mysterious narrative. Surrounded by ancient oaks, misty hills, and ruins of long-forgotten battlements, the setting evokes a timeless quality. The castle, once a stronghold against Scottish invaders, still looms nearby, adding an air of medieval mystique. Visitors today can take carefully guided tours, but make no mistake, this is no petting zoo. The cattle are observed from a distance, through binoculars or from behind protective fencing. Close contact is strictly avoided for safety and to preserve the herd's undisturbed existence. In this space, humans are guests, not masters. It's a humbling experience and one that leaves a deep impression on all who witness it. Over the years, several attempts were made to study or even replicate the Chillingham breed elsewhere. A secondary herd was established in Scotland as a safeguard against disease or disaster, and while it mimics the genetic profile, it lacks the environmental conditions that make the original so unique. Conservationists have long debated whether the herd should be interfered with or allowed to continue its evolutionary course uninterrupted. Most agree that the less human hands are involved, the better. After all, it is precisely their untouched nature that makes them so valuable, not just scientifically, but symbolically. The herd has survived multiple near-extinction events. The most dramatic came during the harsh winter of 1947, when heavy snow and extreme cold decimated their numbers, leaving just 13 survivors. Lesser herds might have collapsed entirely, but the Chillingham cattle bounced back, a testament to their resilience and tenacity. Today, modern monitoring tools, including satellite collars and motion-sensing cameras, help park managers keep an eye on their well-being without intruding into their world. There are contingency plans in place, but always with the ethos of minimal human impact. For the curious and the conservation-minded, the Chillingham cattle offer a compelling case study in balance between past and present, wildness and preservation, legend and science. They show us what animals become when they are allowed to exist beyond our control, shaped only by the land and the seasons. Their continued survival raises critical questions about domestication, biodiversity, and the role of humans in animal evolution. Should we always seek to improve and control nature, or is there wisdom in simply stepping back? The Chillingham cattle suggest the latter. As the world grapples with biodiversity loss and climate change, these cattle stand as silent reminders of the power of nature to endure and adapt. They do not require high-input feed, veterinary antibiotics, or genetic manipulation. They survive because they have learned how to generation after generation. Their minimalist footprint contrasts starkly with the demands of industrial farming, prompting some to wonder if they offer clues to more sustainable forms of agriculture, models that lean into resilience rather than productivity. But perhaps the greatest mystery of all lies not in their biology or history, but in the way they captivate us. There is something hauntingly beautiful about their existence, something that stirs the imagination and makes us question our place in the natural order. We often pride ourselves on our role as stewards of the earth, but the Chillingham cattle remind us that life can thrive without us, that ancient systems can sustain themselves, and that wildness, once preserved, carries a profound and irreplaceable magic. The Chillingham cattle are more than just a rare breed. They're a living legend, a whisper from Britain's distant past that still echoes across the windswept moors of Northumberland. In a world driven by progress, genetic engineering, and industrial farming, these animals stand as a powerful reminder of nature's resilience, mystery, and independence. For centuries, they have thrived without interference, surviving brutal winters, near extinction, and the march of time itself. Their haunting beauty, feral instincts, and unmatched purity make them one of the most fascinating creatures ever to roam the British Isles. As we look to the future of conservation and sustainable farming, perhaps the greatest lesson from Chillingham is this: sometimes, the best way to protect nature is simply to let it be. If you found this story as captivating as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold tales from the animal kingdom. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious.